Happy Thursday, it's Liz here. Today I want to cover the topic of how we can talk to our children about anxiety. We all know that anxiety is a massive feature, symptom of a child with a learning difficulty. So we're talking about the child who's struggling at school and then all the other implications of that struggle, one of the main ones being anxiety. So today is how do we explain anxiety to our children? And you know what? It's actually fairly simple. The topic is complicated, but the explanation can be fairly simple. Basically, there are three main emotions that human beings feel. The first one is anger. So in other words, we get mad about stuff. The second one is sadness. In other words, we have empathy. We feel sad about an event or something that's happened in our lives. The other one is fear. So we become fearful, we become frightened. So we've got three main emotions. Pretty much everything that we feel can be put into these three categories. So we've got anger, we've got sadness, and we've got fear. Now, anxiety is a manifestation of anger. Sorry, I'm going to take that back. It's a manifestation of the two things. Now I've lost my bit on my notes. I'm going to go back and have a look. Of fear, so stress, anxiety is a manifestation of fear and terror. So anxiety comes from being fearful. So this is the first thing we need to explain to our kids. Now, next thing they need to understand is that every single human being on the planet suffers from anxiety. The person driving the $300,000 sports car down the road that looks like they have everything figured out, the best life ever, they go on holidays to Hawaii every year, they have a beautiful family, they have a great house, that person suffers from anxiety. The homeless person on the street who doesn't know where their next meal's coming from, doesn't know where they're going to get clothing from, perhaps is struggling from a mental illness, that person also suffers from anxiety. All of our teachers suffer from anxiety. Every single person you see around you has some level of anxiety. So why is it that some people look anxious all the time and other people look calm all the time? A lot of people say to me, you look so calm when you're doing your Facebook Lives. It's so easy for you just to get onto film and talk. But guess what? The half an hour before I get on to do the Facebook Live, I feel anxious. It is normal. So what is it about some people and others? Basically, it is simply that some people are better at covering up their anxiety or disguising it or hiding it. I think I might be one of those people who's good at hiding it. And you might find that even though you, as a child, are feeling super anxious, there are plenty of other children around you who are feeling anxious too, even if they're not showing it. Now, our triggers for anxiety are all different. For children with learning difficulties, it will be the school process, the formal learning, the sitting in class, the doing the tests, the being put on the spot to read out loud, the being made to feel embarrassed or wondering if everybody's always looking at them is going to be making them feel anxious. But when they're perhaps creating a piece of music or playing some sport or swimming in a swimming race or playing chess or playing with their dog, they may not feel anxious. But another child who's academically really capable at school, in that school environment, they might be frightened of dogs. They may not know how to play a musical instrument. Do you see what I mean? So everybody's trigger is different and we need to explain this to our children. So what is causes anxiety for one person is not what causes anxiety for another, but everybody on the planet has some level of anxiety. Why? Why do we have anxiety? Well, it's a human condition. We need to have those three emotions that I mentioned at the beginning. We need to be able to have a bit of anger. We need to be able to have a bit of empathy or sadness. And we need to be able to show fear, simply because we are animals on the earth, and it's part of our survival structure. We need to actually have this inbuilt in us to ensure the survival of the human race. It's part of who we are. When it becomes a problem is when it becomes too much of something, and then it starts impacting on our everyday life to the point where we're unable to focus or we're unable to function. That's when anxiety becomes real. Now, there are all kinds of things today that cause anxiety for children. Everything from the fact that mum and dads are working long hours and we're not available to talk to when our children often need us, to peer group pressure, to social media, to computing devices, to learning, to not having the correct clothes on, to constantly feeling rushed because our lives have become so full of everything. This all causes anxiety, and quite often the anxiety begins to build. And this is what our children need to understand, that they are actually quite normal. What they need to do is try and get a grasp on how to A, control their anxiety, and B, to find ways to reduce it. So everybody feels stress. Everybody has times when they're worried. Some people are better at hiding it than others, and feeling stress is quite normal. So start with that and your children, because that is a great way of having a conversation about stress and anxiety and why human beings have stress and anxiety. It's part of our survival structure. So there you go. I am going to talk a little bit more about anxiety next week and ways that you can help children to overcome it. So I hope you have a great day and enjoy what is left of your day wherever in the world you are. Don't forget to leave me some messages below, and I look forward to chatting with you again next week. Bye for now.